Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I am Shamir Nicole and you are watching Girl Yes, the channel where we are learning to be bold, ambitious, and beautiful together. So today I don't actually have anything written down. I really just wanted to kind of sit down and talk to you guys about something that I've been thinking about for the last few days, and it is the concept of self-love. When I think about self-love and what that means and what that entails, I really think that the concept of self-love, people like to just use the practical implications of that. They think that self-love is just taking care of yourself, and that is, going to get your hair done, going to get, your nails done, doing the maintenance, making sure your legs are shaved, making sure that you're taking good care of your hygiene. And that is a part of self-love because, if you love something, you take care of it. I want to talk about self-love in a way that's a little more under the surface. And when I think about self-love, I really think about the word self-respect. I had a conversation with someone the other day and it really got me to thinking. One of the ways that we can practice self-love outside of the things that I just mentioned was to really practice self-respect. What I mean by practicing self-respect is if you respect yourself enough, you won't be comfortable disappointing yourself. She said something to me and it really made me think about my own personal situation, and I was just like, yeah, I remember I told myself that I was going to do X, Y, and Z last year. I realized that I didn't do it, and then I had to think about why I didn't do it. Now, of course, there are a whole bunch of factors as to why it didn't happen, but at the heart of it, this is where I had to check myself. And at the heart of it was I didn't respect myself enough to disappoint myself. And it also made me think, if I'm comfortable with disrespecting myself, if I'm comfortable disappointing myself, why should I feel any differently if someone else disappoints me? And I thought about that and I said, wow, I get more upset when other people disappoint me more than I get upset about disappointing myself. And when I tell you, it was like a light bulb went off. It just hit me like a ton of bricks, because I realized what I thought self-love was not self-love. What I thought self-respect was not self-respect. I was self-loving myself with a whole bunch of skincare masks and facials and nails and all this stuff. And I was not loving myself enough to stand on business, to stand on the boundaries that I had set for myself, to stand on the principles, to stand on the foundational pillars that I set for myself and for my life. And I was focused on achieving all of these things and creating systems to achieve all of these things, but I was not respecting the rules. I was not respecting the rules that I set for myself in order for me to maintain all of the things that I was trying to achieve. And I don't want to go into this year continuing on that path. And so today I want to talk about some ways that we can really emphasize the concept of self-love in our own personal lives. How can we love ourselves enough to not want to disappoint ourselves? How can we love ourselves enough to not want to sit on the dreams and the desires that God has placed on our heart? How can we move past fear and shame and projection of others and really start to tap into loving ourselves enough to move, loving ourselves enough to act, loving ourselves enough to be obedient and do it regardless of what the situation is, regardless of the circumstance, regardless of the financial stipulations, or regardless of the lack of resources that we have. For me, that was self-love. So I sat down with myself and I said, how can I practice self-love that had nothing to do with things, had nothing to do with beauty, had nothing to do with finances, had nothing to do with places? What I came up with was a system of routines. What I came up with was a list of rules, a list of restrictions, you may say. But it was basically some things that I could not allow myself to continue to do, but I also couldn't allow people to do to me, with me, or around me. And this was so that I can keep the boundaries that I have made for myself, keep those boundaries in place, and also keep me on a routine that is going to help me exercise this self-love and this self-respect each and every day. Now, I'm not going to share with you what my personal routine is or what my personal boundaries were, but I can share an example of what this would look like as it relates to you incorporating the same concept into your life. This will look like creating a boundary of, let's say, self-respect. If you're trying to respect yourself in the realm of time, so we're going to use the concept of a relationship. I know that's one of the things that we all have had some dealings with, and it doesn't have to be necessarily romantic relationships. It could be platonic relationships as well. When we go into these relationships, what are we looking for? One thing that came to my mind was a lot of times we're in failed relationships because we go into the relationship not knowing what we're looking for and not knowing how we want the other person in the relationship to love us, right? The reason we don't know this is because we don't know how to love ourselves. And again, this incorporates the self-love. If you're not able to love on yourself and fulfill yourself, you can't expect someone else to do the same for you. And as it relates to self-love, if you can't love on yourself and respect the boundaries that you have put in place for yourself, how can you expect someone else to respect and love those boundaries as well? In order for you to truly be fulfilled in a relationship, you have to set the precedent. You have to set the example of how you want to be treated, how you want to be loved, and you only do this by loving on yourself. As I said before, no matter if it's a platonic relationship or it is a romantic relationship, it is really hard to get over on someone who knows what they want, who knows what they're looking for, and who has a concept of self-love. Because when someone loves themselves, they have a set of boundaries already in place, and they're not going to allow you to disrespect them. They're not going to allow you to cross those boundaries that they've already set. And you know that if you cross those boundaries, that person is either going to stop being your friend or they're going to end the relationship. And you can see that from a mile away. And especially men, if you ask the men in your life, a lot of times they know, like, that's the one I can't play with because she's not taking no mess. People know who they can get over on. If you don't want people to treat you bad, you have to learn to tap into that self-love and really be able to exercise that self-love in a way that is reflective of how you want to be treated. As I mentioned earlier, I know that a part of self-love is, of course, the maintenance and the, the outer appearance, but I really want you to cultivate self-love as it relates to your daily practices and really start to do things that feed you creatively, feed you spiritually. One of the things that I like to implement in my life is that I create a morning routine that starts my day off and sets my day up for success. My daily routine starts off with either coffee or tea. 9 times out of 10 is coffee, and I'm typically drinking my coffee. That is my time of solitude. I don't have any phones on. I'm not scrolling social media. I am truly just enjoying that quiet moment. This is where I am praying. This is where I am meditating. This is also when I am doing my daily gratitude journal. If I'm reading any books on self-care, or if I'm reading my devotional, my daily devotional, then this is the time that I do that. These are all of the ways that I practice self-love, because I have to feed myself creatively and spiritually in order for me to be impactful for everybody else who's in my life. One of the things that I always exercise and I always say, you cannot fill anybody else up from an empty cup. You can't pour into a cup if you're on E. And better yet, you can't drive your car down the street if you are on E. Always have to make sure that you are operating at the highest capacity as possible. And because we know that sometimes life is going to life, we have to always make sure that we are constantly feeding ourselves. We are constantly loving on ourselves. We are constantly practicing self-care, self-love, so that when it is time for us to pour into other people, we always have enough left to sustain us. So I'm going to keep this video really short today, but the thing that I really want you to take away from this is that not only is the concept of self-love more than just physical, it's more than the aesthetics, it's more than the hair, the makeup, the clothes. Yes, that is a part of it. However, self-care is about loving yourself enough to say no to people, places, and things. It's about creating systems that are going to help you on your day-to-day. It's about being consistent on practicing self-care. It's about being consistent on practicing self-love and feeding yourself, and always trying to operate from a place of fulfillment and fullness, and making sure that you never allow yourself to get on E when you're pouring into other people. So I hope that you're able to take away something from today's video. Although it is short, I hope that it is sweet. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't done so already, make sure you thumbs up this video and subscribe, because we're going to be talking more about how you can become more bold, ambitious on your journey this year. So I'll talk to you guys in the next video.